We'll chant a little in the beginning just to give everyone an opportunity to join us. All right. I think we are almost ready to go. All right. Let's see. Second. All right. Okay, we got some people joining. That's great. Let me just get things set up. Oh. Let's see. Give me a second. There's something here that I have to set up. All right. Anyway. We're streaming service. Okay. Okay. All right. Setting. All right, so hopefully we'll be able to start our classes at this particular time again. And we'll start chanting, and we are going to continue with our study of Chaitanya Bhagavat. One setting for the music I'm not able to turn on right now. Let's see. All right. Oh, yeah, I can turn it on. Okay. Here we go. Sound for musicians on. Okay. Goranga Hori Deyabe Pulaka Sharir Hariare Murite Nayane Goranga Hori Deyabe Pulaka Sharir Hariare Murite Nayane Nitai Chander Corona High Bay Samsala Bachana Mora Kape to Chai Araka Nitai Chander Runa High Bay Samsara Bachana Mora Kape to Chai Vishaya Shadiyakame Shudabe Mana Kabiyama Vira Oh Sri Vrindavanava Vishaya Chatiya Kali Shudave Mana Kaviyamaya Oh Sri Vrindavanava Paragunatha Pare Oiveyakute Kaviyama Mujamuse Yugala Virate Paragunatha Pare Oiveyakute Kaviyama Mujamuse Yugala Virate Rupa Body Rahu Morash Ratana Kore Sitamu Narudamudas Rupa Body Rahu Morash Ratana Kore Sitamu Narudamudas Kurakavali Teali Ulakakchare Adi Ade Bulite Nayande Kurakavali Teali Ulakakchare Adi Ade Bulite Nayande Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Paravatikacharya, also Teta. Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Avaya, Chalanada Bhaktivedanta, Goswami Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuram Ki Jai, Jagadasami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hani Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Samaniti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dejatarni. We read the translation. When will that opportune moment come to me? When I shiver upon chanting the name of Lord Gauranga? When will I cry while chanting Hare Krishna? When will I receive the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda so that my desires for material enjoyment become insignificant? When will my mind be purified of material anxieties and desires so that I can understand Vrindavan? When shall I be very eager to study the books left by the 6 Goswamis so that I can understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna? The lotus feet of the 6 Goswamis are my only shelter and constant separation from them I remain Narottama Das, Thakur Ki Jai. So, we're going to continue with our study of the Chaitanya Bhagavat where we left off several months ago. And while I'm in town, we're going to be able to do this, hopefully, every single day, if Krishna blesses us. So, without further ado, Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigarve Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, let's share the screen. And where is the screen of that? It's there somewhere. It has to be somewhere. I know. I'm pretty sure I saved it. Oh, here it is. Let me just set it up a little bit better, and then we can share it. All right, share. Here we go. Okay, so we are reading from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And we are reading from Adi Kanda, chapter 12, beginning with text 120. Let's just set this up. Hold on a second. I didn't set the screen up beforehand with this, and I'll do it right now. Oh. There we go. Huh. Wait a second. There we go. Give me a sec. This is the first time we've done this in a little while. All right. Okay, so we'll just have to tolerate the vagaries of the size of the fonts because I didn't set it up beforehand. Okay, here we go. Beginning from text 120. Saraswati Sachakahe Gopanahi Jane Ase Mahaprabhu Gopaganera Vachane. Although the coward boys didn't realize it, by the grace of the transcendental goddess of learning Saraswati, whatever they spoke was true. Meanwhile, Nimai simply smiled at their words. So what this is in reference to was the previous verse, where Nimai said, oops, hold on a second. So anyway, so they all considered that he had eaten at the house in previous lifetimes or previous times, which is actually true, but they didn't realize what actually was the case. The coward boys conjectured that in his previous pastimes as Krishna, Nimai had accepted cooked rice from the house of cowards. Their conjecture regarding Nimai was actually the truth. Hearing their humorous proposal, the Lord was unable to conceal his internal feelings and slightly smiled. In spite of the simple-minded coward boys' ignorance, Shuddha Saraswati Devi made the truth appear on their tongues through their words. Durga Grita Dadi Sara Sundara Navane Santoshe Prabhure Sava Gopa Deha Ani. All the gopas then happily offered the Lord milk, ghee, yogurt, cream, and butter. Gayala Kulera Prabhu Prasanahaya Ganda Vanikera Kare Utilena Gya. After being satisfied by the gopas, the Lord went to the house of a perfume merchant. So this describes like Lord Chaitanya going around to different personalities in the Navadvipa area and exchanging different mellows. Sambrame Vani Kare Chanane Pranama Prabhu Bole Hare Vai Balaganda Anand. The merchant offered his respectful obeisances to the Lord, who said, "O brother, bring me some of your best perfumes." Diaganda Vanikanila Tatakshana Kimulya Lava Bole Shri Sachinandana. The perfume merchant immediately brought some of his best perfume, and Sri Sachinandana inquired, "What is the price?" Vanik Baliye Tumi Jana Mahashaya Tomastani Mulyaki Niteyukta Khaya. The merchant said, "Well, you know, my dear sir, is it befitting for me to take money from you?" Ajiganda Padigare Yahata Takura Kaliyari Gaye Ganda Takaye Prachura Duileo Yadi Gaye Ganda Nahi Chare Tabi Kadi Dio More Ye Chite Pade. Today you apply this oil and go home. If after taking bath tomorrow the fragrance still remains, then you may pay me whatever you like. Etabali apane Prabhu Sarvahange Ganda Dea Vanikna Chade Kona Range. After saying this, the merchant happily applied the perfume on the body of the Lord. Sarvabhuta Hridiye Akarshe Sarvamana Se Rupa Dekya Mugda Nahi Kon Jana. The Lord is the super soul of all living entities, therefore he attracts the mind of all. Who was not attracted by seeing his beautiful form? Vanikera Nugraha Kari Vishwambara Utilena Gya Prabhu Malakara Gara. Vishwambara bestowed his mercy on the merchant and then continued to the house of a florist. The word Malakara refers to florists, or those who make flower garlands for sale. In common language, they are called malis. Like Krishna is called Vanamali. Anyway. Paramad Bhuta Rupa Deki Malakara Adare Asanadia Kare Namaskara. When the florist saw Nimai's wonderful form, he offered him obeisances and a place to sit. Prabhu Bole Valamala Dea Malakara Karipati Lage Kichu Nahika Amara. The Lord said, "O florist, I would like a nice garland, but I have no money with me." In the phrase Karipati, which means cash, expenses, or finance, the word Kari comes from the Sanskrit word Kaparika, and Pati comes from the Sanskrit word Patri. Sira Purushara Praya Deki Malakara Mali Bole Kichuna Daya Nahika Tomara. Appreciating that Nimai had the symptoms of a spiritually perfect soul, the florist said, "You don't need to pay." Etabali Maladila Prabhura Sriyange Hasi Mahaprabhu Sarva Paduyara Sange. After saying this, the florist garlanded the Lord, who smiled in the company of his students. Malakara Prati Prabhu Shubha Drishti Kare Utila Tambuli Gare Goranga Shri Hare. After casting his merciful glance on the florist, Gauranga went to the house of a betel nut merchant. Tambuli dekaya rupa madanamo hana chandera duli lai dilena asana. The merchant saw Nimai's form as more enchanting than that of Cupid. He took the dust from Nimai's feet and offered him a place to sit. Actually, I'm thinking maybe we'll just read the English now rather than reading the Bengali at the same time, because most of the devotees here today don't speak Bengali, so we want them to understand the whole narration and what's happening here. So we're just going to, from now on, I think, just read the English. The merchant said, "It is my great fortune that you have come to my house, insignificant as I am." In full satisfaction, without being asked, the merchant then offered betel nut to the Lord, who smiled. The Lord then said, "Why do you give me betel without payment?" The merchant replied, "I was inspired to." The Lord smiled on hearing the merchant's reply, and he chewed the betel nut with great satisfaction. The merchant then devotedly offered Nimai some pan, camphor, and other spices free of cost. After blessing the merchant, Gora smiled, and he continued wandering the streets of Navadvipa. The city of Navadvipa was just like Mathura. Millions of people belonging to different castes lived there. For the pleasure of the Lord, the Creator had previously supplied Navadvipa with all opulences. The son of Sachi now enjoyed the same pastimes that Krishna had previously enjoyed while wandering in the streets of Mathura. Thereafter, Gora visited the house of a conch merchant who offered the Lord due respect. The Lord said, "Dear brother, let me see some beautiful conches. But alas, how will I take? I have no money." Just then the merchant placed a beautiful conch in Nimai's hand and offered him obeisances. "Oh, Goswami, take this conch home with you. You may pay me later or not. It does not matter." Pleased by the words of the conch merchant, the Lord glanced mercifully on him and departed. In this way, the Lord visited every house in Navadvipa. For this reason, even today, the residents of Navadvipa attain the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. The supremely independent Lord Gaurachandra then went to the house of an astrologer. This is an interesting story. As the astrologer saw the effulgence of the Lord, he humbly offered obeisances. The Lord asked him, "I heard that you are a good astrologer. Could you please tell me who I was in my previous birth?" The pious astrologer agreed to the Lord's request and began to chant the Gopal mantra within his mind. At that moment, the astrologer saw a beautiful blackish personality with 4 hands holding the conch, disc, club, and lotus flower. His chest was decorated with shivatsa and the brilliantly effulgent Kaustuba gem. He saw the Lord in the prison cell being offered prayers by his parents in the dead of night. He then saw Vasudeva carry the Lord that night to Gokula. The astrologer again saw the Lord as an enchanting 2-armed naked child with a string of small bells around his waist and butter in his 2 hands. The astrologer saw his worshipable Lord decorated with all the symptoms he had meditated on. He then again saw the 3-fold bending form of the Lord playing on his flute and surrounded on all sides by the gopis, who were singing and playing various musical instruments. After seeing this wonderful vision, the astrologer opened his eyes and saw Gauranga standing before him. Then he again entered into meditation. The astrologer said, "Oh, Balagopal, please listen. Quickly show me who this Brahmin was." The astrologer then saw the Lord with a greenish durva grass complexion, holding a bow in his hand and sitting on a royal throne. Of course, that's Lord Ramchandra. Thereafter he saw the Lord in the middle of the waters of devastation. He had the wonderful form of a boar and he held the earth on his tusks, as Lord bore, Braha. He then saw the Lord as Nrsimha. Although he appeared very ferocious, he was the ultimate well-wisher of his devotees. Next he saw the form of Vamana, waiting to deceive Bali at his sacrifice. He then saw the form of Matsya, happily sporting in the waters of devastation. The pious astrologer then saw the intoxicated form of Lord Balaram holding a plow and club in his hands. He next saw the form of Jagannath, with Balaram on his right and Subhadra in between. In this way, the astrologer saw the Lord's various incarnations, but due to the Lord's illusory energy, he was unable to ascertain the meaning of what he had seen. The astrologer was struck with wonder and thought, I think that this Brahmana is expert in the chanting of mantras. Otherwise, he may be a demigod who has come disguised as a Brahmin to test me. I see a supernatural effulgence emanating from the body of this Brahmana. He has come to discredit me. The Lord smiled and asked the thoughtful astrologer, Who am I? What did you see? Tell me everything in detail. The astrologer said, You please go home for now. I will tell you everything in the afternoon after I peacefully chant my mantra. Smiling, the Lord agreed to the astrologer's request and went to the house of his dear devotee, Shridhara. So it's described here at Shridharera Mandir, the house of Shridhara is situated on an elevated tract of land at one end of Mayapur, near the village of Sharadanga and 1 mile east of Chankazi Samadhi. There is a small pond nearby. Shridhar was very dear to the Lord's heart, and the Lord would therefore visit him on various pretexts. The Lord would tease Shridhar in the course of the regular conversations, which would last for an hour or two. When Shridhar saw that Nimai had arrived, he offered his obeisances and a place to sit. Shridhar was always peaceful in his behavior, while the Lord enjoyed playing the role of an agitated young man. The Lord said, Shridhar, you always chant the name of Hari. Why are you always afflicted by poverty? Can you please tell me why, after serving the beloved Lord of Lakshmi, you do not get sufficient food and clothes? This is actually a very interesting purport. Lord Narayan, this is the commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. Lord Narayan is the omnipotent sole proprietor of unlimited opulences. In order to test his own servant Shridhar, the Lord asked him why the servants of Narayan remain afflicted with poverty in this world, even though they are eligible for the wealth of their Lord. Although the followers of Shakta philosophy, who wish to mitigate their poverty or gratify their senses and fulfill their self-interest, offer water and tulsi leaves at the lotus feet of Lord Narayan, and thus receive mundane opulences or temporary benefits, they do not achieve eternal good fortune. But the fully surrendered servants of Narayan who are engaged in unalloyed service do not accept any exchange for their service. In order to exhibit the ideal example of such Vaishnava qualities, the Lord's associates from Vaikuntha display various poverty-stricken pastimes. By such pastimes, however, they do not feel any misery. They have the following strong conviction at heart. Tomara sevya dukahaya yata se ota paramasuka. Whatever misery comes in the course of your service is my greatest happiness. They do not desire anything from the Lord for their own sense gratification, but foolish persons, through material vision inspired by external considerations, think that the Vaishnavas are afflicted by various needs. Since due to a lack of wealth, Shridhara Vipra or other pure devotees of the Lord appear from the material point of view unable to accumulate fine items for enjoyment, for dressing, and eating like ordinary people, such questions may naturally arise. This is clearly seen in this conversation between Shridhara and Gaurasundar. Of course, this is also reflected in the conversation between Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, where Maharaj Parikshit asked the question, why is it that the devotees of Lord Shiva are very opulent, and Lord Shiva appears to be very poverty-stricken, whereas the devotees of Krishna appear to be, in many cases, poverty-stricken, and Krishna appears to be very opulent. It's a very interesting question. And of course, it's answered extensively by Shukadeva Goswami, but is one verse that pretty much summarizes the whole thing. Yashaham anugrinami harishye taddanam shanai. That when I especially favor someone, I take away things from him. And so his friends and relatives may reject him, but he's able to chant in peace. So a devotee is not really bothered by external poverty because he gets enough to eat, but he doesn't get over sense gratification. His mind is peaceful, and he's able to spend a lot of time hearing and chanting about Krishna without being afflicted by all these greedy moods that people who are not Krishna conscious have. So happiness comes from a connection with Krishna. It doesn't come from a connection with the material goods that one may acquire. One has to realize that. As they say, money cannot buy one happiness. Whoops. Some problem there. Money cannot buy one happiness, and happiness comes from inside. Yayatma supersedate savai pumsam paramdhana yato bhaktir hoksajay ahoitaki apratiyata yatma supersedate. The only thing that will satisfy us is unalloyed savai pumsam paradama yato bhaktir hoksajay haitaki apratiyata. It means devotional service that has no material cause and is not impeded by any material thing or is not stopped under any condition. So the devotees, Yashaham Anagranami, Rishe Tadanam Shanai, they accept this as Krishna's mercy, and Krishna makes the perfect arrangement for the devotees to be Krishna conscious, although those arrangements may sometimes appear to outsiders to be painful arrangements or difficult arrangements, but still it's the best for the particular devotees. And some devotees are given a lot of money. Why is that? Because these devotees will use the money properly in Krishna's service. Like Prabhupada was given so much, but he never used anything for any self-centered purpose. He always used it to please Krishna and to glorify Krishna and to bring people to Krishna's lotus feet. So, next verse. Sridhar replied, "At least I'm not starving, whether small or large. I'm still wearing some cloth." The Lord said, "But I see your cloth is mended in 10 places, and the roof of your cottage has no straw. Look at other people. They worship Chandi or Vichahari, so they have no scarcity for food or cloth." So the Lord, this is the commentary, the Lord further said, just see how the followers of the Shakta philosophy, Shakta means those who worship the energy or energies of the Lord. And the energies are called Shaktis. There's different Shaktis, like Durga is the Shakti, the external Shakti. So just see how the followers of the Shakta philosophy live happily and comfortably, not by worshiping the eternally revered Supreme Lord, but by worshiping Chandika Devi, who awards benedictions for sense gratification like wealth, followers, and conquest of enemies, and by worshiping Vishwahori, who destroys the fear of snakes. Yeah, Vishwa, that means the Lord of Snakes, basically. Visha means poison. Hari means the Lord, actually, the Lord of poison. And you have brought on yourself this pathetic condition by engaging in the service of the Lord without expressing any desire for material happiness and comfort. Through this question put before the great devotee Sridhara, Sri Gaurasundar revealed the mentality of pure Vaishnavas and illustrated proper philosophy. In Srimad Bhaktivinoda Thakur's famous book named Jivadharma, the mentality of the Shakta philosophy followers who desire material advancement is described. We can see by his description that communities desirous of material advancement and puffed up with false pride based on perishable material wealth, followers, knowledge, and their deceitful civilization are cheated out of achieving the ultimate goal of life on account of seeing the external poverty of the Vaishnavas and attributing various needs and abominations to the Vaishnavas. Actually, they do not understand that the Vaishnavas alone are the rightful heirs of Lord Narayan's entire sixfold opulences. Sridhar then replied, "O Brahmana, what you say is indeed correct. Yet the time passes equally for everyone. The king has jewels in his house and eats opulent food. Meanwhile, the birds live in trees. Yet time passes equally for everyone, as they all enjoy the fruits of all their previous activities by the will of the Lord." So, of course, that's karma. And as Prabhupada would often say, that whatever happiness you're destined to have is predestined. Of course, we're not talking about devotees right now. We are talking about people who are not Krishna conscious. It's predestined. No matter where you go, you take your karma with you. So therefore, to try to increase one's happiness is a futile endeavor. So increase one's material happiness. Of course, you can increase your real happiness by taking up Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is unlimited happiness. Kevala Ananda Kanda. Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Natai. The Lord then said, "You have great wealth that you are secretly enjoying. I will soon disclose this to everyone. Then how will you cheat us?" So he's referring to the great wealth of Krishna consciousness. Sridhar said, "Oh, Pandita, please go home now. It is not proper for us to argue." The Lord said, "I'm not going to leave you so easily. Please tell me what you'll give me." Sridhar said, "I maintain myself by selling leaf cups. So tell me, what can I give you, Goswami?" So this is an interesting commentary. The Lord personally displayed pastimes of poverty and want and accepted ingredients earned through the physical and mental labor of poverty-stricken poor people in order to benefit them. Sridhar said, "According to your own calculation, whatever wealth I have is not even sufficient for me. Therefore, I cannot give charity like a wealthy person. What can I give you? The fruit of workers who are maddened within this material world are busy enjoying the fruits of their respective activities. They donate a portion of their wealth and become famous as charitable persons, but there's no possibility of achieving such fame for a poor, penniless person like me." The Lord said, "Let your hidden treasure remain for now. I'll take that later. For now, give me some bananas, banana flowers, and banana stalks free of charge. Then I won't argue with you." This is really interesting. So, this is interesting, but I'm not going to read the purport to this verse. Sridhar thought, "This Brahmin is very aggressive. I am afraid that one day he will beat me. But even if he beats me, what can I do to a Brahmin? At the same time, I can't supply him free of charge every day. Anyway, whatever this Brahmin takes by force or deceit, that is my good fortune. So I'll continue to give him every day." So he didn't realize that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So let me read the commentary. Shudavipra thought, "Prabhupada has a very arrogant nature." That's about Lord Chaitanya. If I do not act according to his will, then he may even beat me. Moreover, I am personally poor and unable to meet the expenses of my own food and clothing. Therefore, it is impossible for me to give him anything free of cost. Nevertheless, the Brahmin is the representative of the Supreme Lord. If I can help him without duplicity in any way, then there's the possibility of awakening my good fortune. For this reason, whatever he will take from me, either by force or trickery, I have no objection. I will be prepared to give him every day. If by his exhibition of force or trickery this Brahmin is benefited by me in any way, then I will consider it the result of my good fortune. By this pastime, Sri Gaurasundara and his devotee Shidhara set an example for living entities who desire their own benefit to earn unknown piety. Although the smarta communities, a smart is someone who's really into ritualistic behavior, or persons who are expert in worldly morality, consider the behaviors both as unsatisfactory and apparently contradictory, a living entity who is self-realized can understand that such exchanges are the source of unlimited auspiciousness. Great personalities who desire the welfare of other living entities give fallen souls the opportunity to earn unknown piety. It is to be understood that their apparent use of force and trickery is only for the benefit of others. In other words, for the benefit of the fallen souls. So this is a pretty direct reference to what we generally call a gatosukrti. A gatosukrti means if someone renders some service to a devotee, to the Krishna conscious movement, takes a book, whether that service is financial or whether it happens to be some help in some other way, that person is benefited whether or not they know what they're doing, or they know the internal purpose of what they're doing. It's really interesting. So this sort of justifies our whole stance in ISKCON on the principle of the gatosukrti. However, if it's a business exchange, let's say I sell some incense to someone and they pay the price, not a donation, but they pay the price, let's say $1 a package or whatever it is. Now, that result, or the result they get from that, is not Krishna conscious, just whatever the incense. Hopefully we've offered the incense to Krishna, so when they burn it, then they will get some spiritual benefit. But when there's some financial exchange, then there's no spiritual benefit. Actually, Prabhupada even said that in regard to people who get a salary for their, quote, devotional service or their activities for Krishna. And Prabhupada said the only result that people get from that, if they're getting a salary, is the money itself, not spiritual advancement, not devotional service. Anyway, thinking in this way, listen, Goswami, don't worry about money. I'll happily give you some bananas, banana flowers, leaf cups, and banana stalks, but please don't fight with me. The Lord said, good, then I won't fight anymore. But see that I get good quality bananas and banana stalks. The Lord daily used Shridhara's leaf cups, and he ate subjects made from Shridhara's plantains, banana flowers, and banana stalks. Whenever a squash grew on the roof of Shridhara's cottage, the Lord would eat it, cooked with milk and black pepper. The Lord then said, tell me, what do you think of me? After you answer this, I'll go home. Shridhara replied, you are a Brahmin, a portion of Lord Vishnu. The Lord said, you don't know. Actually, I'm from a Gopa family. Gopa means coward boy family, which is true. I mean, it's Krishna. Although you see me as the son of a Brahmin, I consider myself a coward boy. Shridhara smiled at the Lord's words, but due to the illusory energy, he could not recognize his Lord. The Lord then said, Shridhara, let me tell you the truth. The glories of your Ganges are due to me. Oh my God. And this would be considered blasphemous, actually, to say that, if any of us went and said, Ganges is glorified because of me, that, oh my God, that's not plug your ears and run away chanting Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. So Sridhar replied, Nimai Pandit, aren't you afraid of insulting Ganga this way? One is supposed to become sober as he grows up, but I see that your restlessness has doubled. After joking with Sridhar in this way, Lord Gauranga returned to his home. Shri Gaurasundar sat down at the door of his Vishnu temple, and his students all returned to their homes. As Nimai saw the full moon one night, his heart became absorbed in the mood of Sri Vrindavan Chandra. That's Krishna, of course. Nimai then began to play a flute in a most enchanting tune, which only Mother Shachi could hear. When Mother Shachi heard the sound of that flute, which attracts the three worlds, she fell unconscious in ecstasy. After a while, she regained consciousness and steadied her mind as she continued listening to the wonderful sound of the flute. Shachi then noticed that the enchanting sound of the flute was coming from the direction where Nimai was sitting. Mother Shachi came outside in astonishment and saw that her son was sitting at the door of the Vishnu temple. She could no longer hear the sound of the flute, but she saw the full moon on the chest of her son. Seeing the moon on the chest of her son, Shachi was struck with wonder and began looking around. Mother Shachi then went back inside and began to think about the reason for such a vision. In this way, the most fortunate Mother Shachi saw unlimited manifestations of opulence. One night, Shachi heard hundreds of people singing and playing musical instruments. By the sound and dancing and various wind instruments, she considered that a grand Rasa Leela festival was taking place. One day, all she could see was a brilliant spiritual effulgence permeating her house. On another day, she saw many divine women who all held lotus flowers in their hands and resembled the goddess of fortune. One day she saw the effulgent demigods, but when she looked again, she couldn't see them. It is not astonishing that Shachi had such dreams, for the Vedas describe her as the personification of devotional service to Lord Vishnu. So, in the commentaries, explain that Devaki, the mother of Prishnigarbha, is the personification of devotional service to Lord Vishnu. Mothers of the Lord like Yashoda, Devaki, and Shachi serve the Lord in pure Vatsalya Ras, means parental relationship. Therefore, even though such mothers are worshipable to the Lord, they are not bereft of pure spiritual service. So all these personalities, they're all expansions of Krishna's original mother, who is Yashoda Mai. Whoever receives the merciful glance of Mother Shachi becomes eligible to see such opulences. In this way, Sri Gaurasundar, who was not different from Lord Krishna, lived in Navadvipa incognito, that means nobody could see who he was, while relishing his own ecstasy. Although the Lord manifested his opulences in various ways, his servants were still unable to recognize him. The arrogance that was sportingly displayed by Nimai was unmatched throughout Navadvipa. The pastimes enjoyed by the Lord are supreme in all respects. Whenever the Lord desires to fight, he becomes the topmost hero, and no one could surpass his prowess with weapons. Whenever the Lord desires to enjoy conjugal pastimes, he manifests millions of beautiful women. Whenever the Lord desires to enjoy opulence, he fills his servants' homes with millions of oceans of wealth. In this way, the arrogant nature now manifest by the Lord immediately vanished when he accepted the path of renunciation. At that time, not even a fragment of the renunciation and devotion that he manifests could be found throughout the three worlds. Is this possible for anyone else? So, of course, the point is, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Bhagawan, and one of Bhagawan's opulences is renunciation, but there's also wealth. So he manifests these at different times. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, that's when he manifested the opulence of renunciation and no longer acted in a very proud fashion like he did before he took sannyas. The activities of the Lord is supreme in all respects, but it is his nature to accept defeat at the hands of his devotees. One day, Nimai, along with 5 or 7 students, was walking down the main road. Nimai was dressed like a king. The yellow cloth that covered his body made him look just like Krishna. As he chewed betel nut, his face resembled millions of moons. People who saw him inquired, "Is he Cupid?" His forehead was decorated with tilak, and in his hands he carried some books. A glance from his lotus eyes destroyed all sins. As the restless-natured Lord walked along with the students, his arms swung back and forth. By providence, Srivas Pandit was coming from the opposite direction at that time. Upon seeing the Lord, Srivas began to laugh loudly. Nimai offered obeisances to Srivas, who blessed Nimai by saying, "Live forever." And read the commentary, and then we'll stop for the day and take questions. Sandapani Muni as the teacher of Krishna, Garga Muni as the priest, Briga Muni as the examiner, and in Gauralila, Brahmananda Puri as the godbrother of Vishwara Puri, and Srivas Pandit as a senior Brahmin, all consider the Lord as a subordinate object of affection and care, and thus acted as guardians of the Lord. But it should be understood in the mood of awe and reverence, such behavior is harmful to the principles of service. In other words, they, because of ras, their relationship under Yogamaya, did not have a mood of awe and reverence. However, for them, it was blissful and not harmful. But for us, it would be harmful if prematurely, while we're still in the conditioned stage, we think that we can become intimate or even superior to the Supreme Personality of God and deal with him in a superior fashion. So with that in mind, we will stop sharing and take some comments as we allow you to unmute yourselves. Okay, so you are allowed to unmute yourselves if you like. You can raise your hands. Oh, Nanda Gopal, you have a question. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for enlivening class. Maharaj, as I am listening to you more and more, one theme is very kind of imminent, or it's very easy to see that you are performing Krishna consciousness very joyfully. So as a neophyte sadhaka, such as myself, who is just beginning, sometimes I have trouble chanting my rounds and doing the prescribed duties. So how to find that joy and how to continue this joy in execution of devotional service, Maharaj? That is something I would like to learn from you.
Okay. So as we know from the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yat Karoshi Yadasnashi Ashtahoshi Dadasyat Yat Pashashi Gontia Tatkawarishwa Madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever should be done as an offering to Krishna. So if you can connect your activities in Krishna consciousness as not just an offering to Krishna, but as a devotional offering to Krishna. In other words, you're doing everything to please Krishna. Otherwise, it becomes very ritualistic. Like if you're chanting, all right, just to get liberated or just because you have to fulfill your obligation to chant your rounds, or if you're going to the morning program, or whatever, offering food just because you have to do it. If you don't do it, it's sinful because you're eating sin. If you eat without offering to Krishna first, then it gets very dry after some time. So what I try to remember is two things, or maybe three or four, but anyway, two things is that whatever I'm doing, I should be doing to please Srila Prabhupada. And thinking, I bring Prabhupada, the image of Prabhupada into my consciousness, and the image of Radha and Krishna into my consciousness, and think, they're here. Krishna's everywhere. Krishna's in our heart. Radha and Krishna are in our heart, and Krishna's pure devotees are there, and whatever. And they're watching what I'm doing, and I'm just supposed to be acting to please them. So if you do it as a loving exchange, then it becomes easier. just like if someone is married and they happen to love their family, as impossible as that may sound, they happen to love their family and they have to work a very difficult job. You know, people work such difficult jobs and so many hours a day. I mean, in America, we're actually quite fortunate. People don't have to work that much. In general, people don't have to work that much to make a living. And so in certain countries, you know, they're just like day duty, night duty, like that. I know in India, sometimes people have to travel long distances by train, hanging out of the train every day, back and forth. You know, it's very difficult. So if they're thinking of who they're doing it and they love their family, then it actually becomes much more, well, it becomes pleasurable then. But if they're not thinking of why they're doing what they're doing, the whole key is, I often talk about this subject matter, to think about why you're doing what you're doing, who you're doing it for, and then it's easier. It's easier. I mean, that's what, you know, if I have a secret. So if I have a secret, that's whatever secret I have that I'm thinking of, you know, who am I doing it for? When I'm doing it, you know, if I'm offering to the deities, I know where Aunt Sheila is, or if I'm chanting my rounds, I try to bring my mind back to think of that as an offering to Krishna. I'm doing something nice for Krishna. Just like, I mean, for example, sometimes a lady is knitting little things for her babies, you know, booties or whatever the ladies knit. And, but she, you know, knitting is just like a tedious activity. It's really tedious. I mean, but she's doing it for Krishna or for a child, sorry. I'm spiritualizing her activities. So she's doing it for a child, so she's thinking of her child while she's doing it. So if you have a personal loving relationship with Krishna and Prabhupada and your spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, then it becomes, everything's based on personal relationships. I mean, it's just like one should enjoy personal interactions. That's the real enjoyment, loving exchanges. Whether it's with Krishna, with devotees, advanced devotees, or we're trying to help people who are not advanced, uh, or cooking for someone, cooking prasadam for someone, then it's all a personal relationship. But you may be treating your japa and the other activities as just procedures,
Mm, true.
rituals. Instead of thinking this is a personal relationship, you're dealing directly, you know, you're having a personal relationship, you're talking with Krishna when you're chanting japa. And you're in contact with Krishna. So, anyway, that's, you know, if I appear to be joyful.
Joy, joy. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for sharing your heart.
Okay. Also, it helps to have a sense of humor, too. That's it.
Sure.
And not take yourself so seriously. You know, so you gotta see sometimes the humor in life. I mean, it's quite an interesting world where there's so many contradictions. And so, as we were reading in the purport the other day, where Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, this mature world is weird. It, in fact, is weirder than any movie you can actually think of. Okay, thank you for your question, and it's time to end. And so hopefully we'll be able to continue these classes if Krishna blesses us before we start traveling again. And we have a lot of traveling in the future, like a lot of traveling. I'm going to India on the 15th of this month. Not this month, February, 15th of February. And then after that, after about 2 weeks, then we go to the South Pacific again. So, in any case, whenever we're able to, we'll try our best to give this class. We've got quite a few people. Thank you very much. All glorious to His divine